Dodge Aspen and Plymouth Volare, great idea, lousy execution. Motor Trend's 1976 Car of the Year turned out to be one of the sourest lemons in history. The Dodge Aspen and Plymouth Volare were Motor Trend's 1976 Car of the Year, and no, we hadn't lost our marbles. Looking into history's rearview mirror, we know these cars turned out to be troubled turd tubs. But back in late 1975, before the Aspen and Volare collided with their self-made roadblocks, they seemed like rather innovative vehicles. How could these cars be so right, and yet so wrong? Chrysler in catastrophe. While most people correctly associate the great 1970s downsizing of American cars with the 1973-74 energy crisis, the origin of the F-bodies, initially code-named Aspen and Vale, dates back to 1971. American buyers were already gravitating towards smaller cars, and Chrysler saw a market for a compact model with the interior space and ride qualities of a larger car. History would prove the company's notion correct, but only in the long term. Having been stung once by downsizing, Chrysler shrank its big cars in '62 with disastrous sales results. Chrysler scheduled an update of its aging full-size C-body to launch ahead of the new compacts. The timing was catastrophic, as the introduction of Chrysler's big new 1974 gas guzzlers coincided almost perfectly with the OPEC oil embargo. The company should have been well positioned with its highly regarded Dodge Dart and Plymouth Valiant compacts, as well as the Mitsubishi-sourced Dodge Colt, but dealer lots were overflowing with full-size cars no one wanted. Then the 1974-75 recession hit, and Chrysler took a pummeling. Aspen and Volare to the rescue. With so much going wrong, the new compacts couldn't arrive soon enough. At the end of 1975, a disastrous year in which Chrysler lost $260 million, $1.25 billion in 2021 dollars, and failed to pay a dividend on common stock for the first time since 1933, the 1976 Dodge Aspen and Plymouth Volare finally made their debut. It seemed Chrysler finally had the right car for the times, one that offered midsize space in a compact package. Reviewers, including us, piled praise upon these smart new compacts. While modernists tend to regard any car with a leaf-sprung rear axle as primitive, the Fs showed signs of sophistication. Chrysler's front suspensions were already differentiated by the use of longitudinal torsion bars, which gave them notably better handling, and a firmer ride, than coil-sprung competitors. For the F-body, Chrysler developed a novel new suspension that used transverse torsion bars located ahead of the front axle, mounted to a K-member isolated from the unibody by rubber mounts. It was a compact setup that delivered nimble, for the time, handling and a plush ride. The Aspen and Volare's appeal went beyond its underpinnings. Standard operating procedure in Detroit was to develop car interiors and exteriors separately. In another accurate prediction of the culture, the F-body's exterior shape was determined by interior size demands and aerodynamics. Chrysler developed coupe, sedan, and wagon variants with the two-door cars riding on a 4.0-inch shorter wheelbase than the four doors. The wagon was particularly noteworthy, as Ford and GM had no station wagon in that size class, and AMC's Hornet was much tighter on space. GM and Ford would follow Chrysler into this segment with their downsized intermediate wagons of 1978. The cars were styled to avoid alienating loyal Dart and Valiant owners, retaining a last vestige of 1970s roundness rather than giving over to the straight-line designs that would become a hallmark of the early 80s. And what of the obvious badge engineering that led the Dodge and Plymouth versions to be nearly identical? While General Motors tried, with declining levels of success. To differentiate similar cars from different marques, Chrysler simply didn't bother. Chrysler's dealership body was more or less evenly divided into Dodge and Chrysler Plymouth stores, and to Chrysler's way of thinking, an Aspen was merely a Volare that you bought from a Dodge dealer. Dodge Aspen and Plymouth Volare, great idea, lousy execution. Motor Trend's 1976 Car of the Year turned out to be one of the sourest lemons in history. The Dodge Aspen and